I'm going to talk about the Elastic Path integration with Google Merchant Center, which gives you the ability to connect your Elastic Path store and catalog to Google Merchant and synchronize all your product data into Google so it can appear in Google search results and on Google Shopping. So there's a little bit of setup to do. First, you need to create your Google Merchant Center account and register, get your merchant's ID and verify your storefront ownership. These are all prerequisite to configuring the integration on your Elastic Path store. A couple of other things that you should do is in the shipping and returns, you should set up your shipping configuration and also your return configuration. You can see here I've set up some defaults, but in order to guarantee good data quality, and Google really insists on you setting these up, when a customer hits a search result for a product, Google will display to them information about what the shipping cost is and what the return policy is. They really put an emphasis on data quality, and if you don't set these up, your products will be downranked. The data on returns and shipping doesn't come from Elastic Path right now, so this is your responsibility to sort this out. The next thing to do is go into Content API authentication. So our integration calls the Google Merchant Content API, and you will need authorization for that. So in the authentication section here, just click this to add a new API key. We'll keep the existing one we've got here. No, we don't want to remove. So you'll get this JSON file and it'll download it. And it's important to keep this file secure and keep a copy of it because you'll only get access to it once when you create the key. So the JSON in the Content API key looks like this. And there's a couple of fields that are really important for you. First is this client email field here. Next is this private key here. You'll need the values, the entire data in the quotes when you configure your Elastic Path integration. You'll also need your merchant ID, which you can see here on the Google Merchant Center dashboard. Let's go and have a look at the Integration Hub configuration. I've got it set up here, so we'll just review the configuration. We'll click next to go through the configuration values. First of all is the client email. So that's what was in the JSON file from the API key we just created. And again, the private key, just copy and paste those into these boxes. And your merchant ID, which I highlighted, will need to go in here. Next, set up your target country and currency. So here we're targeting Great Britain and pounds, and then the language is English. This should really match what your default settings are for your Elastic Path store. So if you put all your product data in English, then and your default price lists are in pounds, and that's what you should select. Next, your Elastic Path connection. So we'd recommend creating a new API key for each integration. And here, just put the client ID, the client secret, and the URL to authorize. So this is the access token URL for Elastic Path. Next, your EP base URL. So this is either going to be useast.api.elasticpath.com or api.molten.com, depending if you're in the US region or the European region. Also, you'll need a webhook key. This key secures the connection between your Elastic Path API and the integration. So the way the integration works is it registers as a webhook onto a catalog publish event. And when a catalog is published, it will invoke the integration and pass this value in. And the integration will expect this value. Just make sure nobody can call your integration without authorization. And in here, you can just generate a random UUID or put in your own passphrase. The next configuration is the batch size and concurrent threads. These are around performance tuning. We'd recommend leaving the default values here unless you have a particularly unusual setup in regards to your catalog, in which case we can help you tuning those values. Finally, there's some settings around your storefront host URLs. So when we send data to Google, Google lists it and it's got all the base product data. It'll show a product image, a product price. And when a user clicks on the product in a search result, it will send them back to your storefront. In order to do that, you need to configure the host path prefix of your storefront. So this is the first part of the URL on your storefront for a product page. The second part is the identifier scheme. So this is either the SKU, the slug, or the product ID, depending on how you identify in your storefront what the product is. Then the final part is optional, and it's anything that goes after this in the URL. It can be a URL parameter. So in this case, we can see here's my storefront and then /products, and then it's going to put the product ID after this. And then Google Merchant Center will use that as the link back to the product on my storefront. Hit finish. The integration will take a few minutes to go and set itself up and initialize. And after that, you're ready to go. And as I said, it works off catalog publish. So add some products to your catalog, do a publish, and it should synchronize everything in the publish down to Google, and then your products can be listed in search results.